It started as a crowded field of candidates in the primary race for Congressional District 7, but it's down to just 4 Democrats now vying to take on Republican incumbent Tom Kean Jr. this November. The primary elections will be held on June 2nd. I'm joined now by one of the candidates in the race, Rebecca Bennett, whose resume includes former Navy helicopter pilot, an officer in the Air National Guard, a healthcare industry leader, and a mom of 2. Rebecca, welcome to the show. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me on. Excited for the conversation.
Why do you believe that you are the best Democratic candidate to take on, and I imagine you believe you can beat Congressman Tom Kean Jr.?
Yeah, well, just quick background on me. I'm a former Navy helicopter pilot. I served in the military for over 15 years, and I led missions, people, and teams all over the world. From there, I moved into healthcare, where I've been working in the private sector ever since. I've worked in a bunch of different areas of healthcare, to include women's health, which is near and dear to my heart. I'm also a mom to 2 girls, and I'm raising my girls here in the district. And I understand the challenges that we're facing in this district because my family is dealing with them too. And all of those things combined uniquely position me on being able to build the coalition that we need to be able to flip this seat. We need to be able to get Democrats engaged and motivated and excited. We also need to be able to appeal to independent voters and center-right Republicans. And my background as a military veteran, private sector leader, and mom uniquely position me on being able to do that. I'll also just add, we need to be able to raise the resources we need to be able to in order to flip the seat and be able to communicate with voters. I'm very proud to share that I've raised over $2.6 million so far without taking any corporate PAC money, and that's come from over 13,000 individual donors across the district.
You said you wanted, let me ask you this, you said you wanted to address the needs of the voters in the district. What do you believe those needs and concerns are?
Yeah, I'll say here we've got to walk and chew gum at the same time. So what I hear most from people on the ground is we've got to hold this Trump administration accountable for its corruption and its lawlessness, but we also have to solve the issues that we are facing. And what I hear top of mind from everyone is cost of living. We are living through an affordability crisis right now. Everything is more expensive: childcare, elder care, groceries, housing, energy, healthcare, and I could go on and on and on. But we're not seeing solutions to those problems. And so I rolled out a really robust policy platform to address those issues and to actually make people's lives better. So those are the things that we've got to focus on in office.
What specific policies would you advocate for in the healthcare space, as someone who's worked across a range of sectors in the healthcare industry, to bring those costs down and to increase access to healthcare?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say for me, there's a couple of things here. So number one, we've got to make sure that we are getting the subsidies back for the Affordable Care Act to make sure we're bringing those health insurance premiums down, and also looking to undo some of the cuts that got put into effect for Medicaid. Tom Kean Jr. was the deciding vote on the One Big Beautiful Bill, which means that tens of thousands of people in our district are losing access to their health insurance, either because they can't afford their premiums or because of Medicaid cuts. And we know that that is just going to make the cost of healthcare go up for all of us, because people are going to wait until they get sicker. They're going to go to the emergency room, which is the most expensive place to get care. So that's number one, is make sure that we're undoing those cuts. And then looking at the more proactive of what can we do to actually make sure our healthcare system works better for all of us. I believe we need a public option to be able to give people choice. And we also need to make sure we're protecting against people with pre-existing conditions. As a mom who's had 2 kids, and I'm also a veteran, both of those things would have previously prevented me from being able to get access to care. So we've got to make sure that everyone has access to quality, affordable health care, and no one's going broke because of their medical bills.
Of course, the Affordable Care Act does address that. And I just want to switch gears. As a former Navy helicopter pilot, I don't know if you would have any intention of sitting on the Armed Forces Committee, but I have to ask, do you believe that the U.S. made the right move in the way that it attacked Iran?
Yeah, I would love to sit on the House Armed Services Committee. I was a helicopter pilot. I was also an experimental test pilot, and so led the development of technology for both the United States and partner nations. And what I'll say about what's going on in the Middle East is that anytime we are going to go put American service members in harm's way, there needs to be a clear motivation, clear objectives, and a clear exit strategy. We're not seeing any of that from this administration. And so it is incredibly upsetting just about how cavalier this administration has been about the loss of American life and what we're seeing in the Middle East. And so we need to make sure we're working towards sustainable long-term peace in the region.
One of the issues that a lot of voters are kind of arguing about here and in your district is whether or not there should be any conditions over the U.S. support of Israel. Do you believe conditions should exist in that allyship?
I've seen firsthand how important Israel is as an ally to the United States, and I do believe that we need to have a two-state solution. I think that we need to support Israel as an ally, and they need the resources to be able to defend themselves. And so to me, it's about working towards that long-term peace in the region. And what we're seeing from our leaders in this administration is that they do not understand the severity and the stakes of what we're talking about. It's why it's important we have people with a seat at the table that understand the stakes and the gravity of what we're doing so we can really work towards that long-term peace and rebuild in the region for a long-term peace in the region.
Here at home, you say that one of your key priorities is keeping communities safe. One way you'd like to do that is gun safety reforms. Those have been deadlocked on Capitol Hill for years, if not decades. What reforms would you push, and do you believe you could make any progress there?
Yeah, this is one that is also deeply personal for me. I train people on how to use weapons of war. I flew with weapons of war on my aircraft in the military, and I'm a mom to two girls. And every day when I send my girls off to school, I make sure to leave on a really positive note because I know they may not come home at the end of the day. And that is the reality that so many families are facing in this country, and it is unacceptable. And so this is absolutely something that I want to champion and to work on getting meaningful, legislation passed. I think there's a lot of common sense things that most of us agree on, like background checks and red flag laws. And so absolutely we'll continue to push on that because I want families to be able to live and, live free and to feel safe in their communities.
You say common sense reforms. How would you attempt to reach across the aisle? Because right now there are a lot of folks who say those are not common sense, that those are restricting their Second Amendment rights. Just a couple seconds left.
Yeah, I would say on that this is how I've led my entire life, which is country over party and service over self. And so if I can find people to work on being able to find meaningful solutions to something like background checks and red flag laws to solve our gun violence epidemic, then I will absolutely work with them. All
right, we have to leave it there. Rebecca Bennett, Democratic primary candidate in District 7. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us today.
Thank you.